part of having a dream is having values to support it. And I say all the time to my patients and clients and students, without values, you have no way to determine when to say no. And so your yes has no value until you learn to say no. If you have no discernment over the food you eat, you'll eat anything and you'll probably end up being like the average person, overweight, out of shape, unhealthy, sick, because you don't know when to say no.
And I'll add to that so many people in our culture today, as a side note, they do have values, or at least they think they do. But when it comes down to it, they're not living their values. So we do have values, but we have to be more cognizant of what they are and then put our money where our mouth is and live our values. That's a big part of my course too, and this is what I've learned from you, the importance of that stage of our life, the warrior stage, whether you're a man or a woman, is that's where you get clear on what your values are. And yeah. I love your definition of it that you taught me, that it's what you're willing to die for. It's where you're going to put your line in the sand. Like this gives meaning and importance to my life. And I'm drawing that line in the sand, and I'll die on this hill because this is a value for me. And for me to live in integrity with myself, which is going to prevent energy leaks and my loss of power and all these things that we all experience, and feeling like a victim and like a leaf in the wind and all that stuff. I need to live by those values. And that warrior stage is something that I think we're lacking in culture today, both for men and women. So I know Spirit Gym helps us.
Yeah, it's a very serious issue today. And the thing is you have to ask yourself the question, if I'm not living my values, am I really living?
Yeah.
And whose values am I living?
Whose life am I living? Yeah.
Whose life am I living? And the problem is, people have values, but most of them are unconscious.
Yeah.
And if they're unconscious, it means there's somebody else's values that were programmed into you. Because when you program your own values, then you're, by definition, you're doing it. So you're saying, this is me, right?
And you're wondering why you're sick, tired, unhappy, unfulfilled.
Yes.
Because you're not tapped into your authentic self. Yeah.
Yes. And you know very well, I created a concept called the pain teacher. And many people say, well, how do I talk to my soul? And I'm having a hard time connecting with my soul. I say, look, whenever you're having a hard time paying attention to your soul or listening to your soul, just look at where the pain teacher's showing up in your life. Because the pain teacher is showing you right where you need to direct your attention and do some healing work to create the inner harmony so you can hear the still small voice of the soul. And so what I'm saying is, people have values, but most of them are unconscious. And if they're unconscious, it means there's somebody else's values until you make them conscious. And if you're not sure where your values are not life affirmative or dream affirmative, then just look at where the pain teacher's coming to visit you. Are you having chronic problems in relationships with people you love? Are you having chronic health problems? Are you having chronic money problems? Are you addicted? That's where the pain teacher's showing up. So that's your soul saying, hey, pay attention, because you came here to create something more beautiful than this. The average person's doing this. This is putting God to sleep. This is boring. You're here to truly live. So you need to wake up to who and what it is in your heart that you came here to express, because every one of us is absolutely and utterly unique. There will never be another Amy Fournier. There will never be another Paul Chek. There will never be. God is 100% novelty generator, which means every one of us carries the seed of genius that is necessary to the whole. And if we spend our life living someone else's values and someone else's dictates and someone else's dream, then we never release our own genius. So it's kind of like carrying the seed of the fruit of life and the fruit of love, but we never plant it until we decide what our myth is and who we are and what our values are. And that turns out to be the soil and the water and the light that makes the genius within each of us grow. And we know when we're there because we have a sense of fulfillment. We have a sense of awe. We have a sense of inherent relief. We have an inner compass that says, no, I don't want to eat that way, because if I do, I won't have the energy to build my new house. And that's my dream. Or I don't want to eat in ways that disable my ability to be a responsible parent, or drink or drug in ways that do that. So we really have to do the process of inner exploration and excavating everything out that's been programmed into us, sifting through it and say, mom and dad's ideas about money were pretty good. They did good there, but they didn't get along very well. And dad was very patriarchal. And that, if I repeat that, that's not going to serve me well. I don't want to be married to a woman that will put up with that because she won't be my equal. So you see, these are just simple examples of how Spirit Gym takes you on a guided tour of what you've got to look into to create real freedom. Because as long as you're unconscious, you're never free. You're always somebody else's robot, play toy. You're acting out. You're not creating. You're simply acting out like a machine that just prints and prints and prints. So the principle of the 10 is really, now that I've made it through a cycle of the hero's journey, I'm at the rest cycle of Om. So I've gone through the awakening, the dreaming, the working through the challenge. I've gathered the fruit. I've healed the addiction. I've overcome my false beliefs or my program beliefs. I've found a new God that is fulfilling to me, that I can feel love for and safe with. And the 10 is, okay, now that you've completed a cycle of growth, it's time to go into a winter phase rest and redream. Say, who do I want to create next? Or how do I take myself to the next level of fulfillment, or to the next level of healing, or the next level of self-realization? And how can I do that as a gift, not only to myself, but for everybody around, as an inspiration to others to know that we, all the way till we're, the day we die as an old person, we can still be recreating ourselves.